Hey everybody, welcome back. I'd like to welcome you to a new series here on this channel called bitPERFECT, where we are going to discuss and review all things digital music playback. So that means digital like CD, SACD, streaming, high-res audio, not so high-res audio, and everything in between. There will be reviews, there will be commentary, but if it has to do with digital music, this is going to be the place on this channel in this series we call bitPERFECT. So I want to start this first episode with this concept about nostalgia. And I think that when a lot of people think of nostalgia, it oftentimes is relating to vinyl or the vinyl resurgence, vinyl playback, things like that. And I have to say that for me, I'm not that nostalgic about vinyl because I never really stopped buying records. I listened to records in college. I definitely slowed down. I had my peaks and valleys with it, but I've always sort of picked up records along the way. But about 10 years ago, I said goodbye to CDs. I actually have not had any CDs or DVDs and even Blu-rays in my possession for going on 10 years now. And that means that the other day when it came time to review this brand new Technics SACD player, I didn't actually have anything to put in the disk drive, which forced me to go out and buy CDs for the first time in almost 10 years. And I have to say, something interesting happened while shopping for CDs. When I got to the store, and it was a secondhand store too. It wasn't even a new music shop. It was a local half-price books here in Austin, Texas. And it probably took me all of about 30 seconds to suddenly become enamored with the concept of buying CDs. Because upon touching the racks and flipping through a couple of discs, I was instantly struck by all of these memories, middle school, high school, and beyond, where we would meet, friends would go as a group to music stores like Tower Records and the like, and we would hunt for the latest releases. We would hunt for things. We would go to like the import section and hope to score, some European techno and things like that. And it just was this really, really fun and also kind of communal experience. And here I was at half-price books with all of those memories flooding through my brain, and at the same time just flipping, and before I knew it, I was sitting there holding two fistfuls of CDs. And granted, every CD that I was holding, I have owned previously. And so that is its own discussion, but here I was, probably $100 worth of used CDs in my hands, and thinking to myself, going, holy cow, have I made a mistake? Not have I made a mistake in buying CDs, but have I made a mistake in letting CDs go some 10 years ago? So I limited myself, I think, to 4 or 5 CDs. So I laid them all out. I picked which ones that I was going to ultimately buy. And I bought them, and I brought them home, and I cracked them open. The disc drawer popped out, set one down, put the disc in, hit play, and suddenly all of that excitement, all of that nostalgia, all of those memories ceased to be. And it's not to say that because the player was bad or because the sound that it was producing from those CDs was terrible. No, far from it. Arguably, it was likely one of the better CD experiences I've ever heard. The difference is that once the CD was in the tray, my interaction with it, my experience with it, became no different than streaming. And as I sat there and listened to the disc itself, I really struggled to reconcile why I had had such a visceral reaction in the store to how much fun it was. And I was shopping by myself. I mean, Christy didn't even come with me. I was shopping by myself, and here I was having a ball. I thought I was gonna run down to the shop, maybe spend a minute or two, grab a disc, come back. And I was there for maybe 45 minutes or longer. And just enjoying every second of the experience. But for me, coming home and playing what I had just purchased, that experience didn't translate because, and I'm throwing out a hypothesis, I think it didn't, because the memories that I then had tied to playing that song back, well, I get those memories and those recalls when I listen to it via Tidal, which is my streaming service of choice. And so it wasn't format dependent. And in talking to Christy about this concept, about this video, she had asked, well, why do you think maybe vinyl is different? And for me, I think it's because vinyl has, always been with me. I never had a true stoppage of or a goodbye to the format per se. I've always had a few records. I've always had something. But more than that, I do think that vinyl records keep you a little bit more engaged in the sense that you constantly have to interact with them. With CDs, once you put the CD in the tray, it's very much like streaming in the sense that you can skip ahead, you can go back, you can rewind, you can do this, but it's not physical. It's not forcing you to sit through something, or it's not forcing you to have to interact with it once you've put it in the tray. And if you have a 5-disc CD changer, if you have a 200-disc CD jukebox, then your interaction is even more limited, making CDs not that different in that respect from streaming. And that really is interesting, and I think that might be the disconnect, because so much of how we used to buy music was communal, and maybe that's what we're romanticizing, is the act of having to be among one another. And not only even if you went with friends to see what everyone else buys and shopping with friends, holding stuff up, going, check this out, but also maybe being among strangers and seeing what they're buying, hearing the music on the shop stereo and going, what is that? And then going and finding it. Maybe that's really what we're nostalgic about, and not the sound per se, or the quality or lack thereof, but the feelings we got acquiring it. I mean, I don't know, but this is something that has never actually crossed my mind before, because up until a couple of weeks ago, I'd always just assumed that, well, vinyl was vinyl, and my attachment and my fondness for that was because of the format. When in reality, I got the same endorphin kick buying CDs. What made that so interesting was the fact that stopped really as soon as I put the disc in the player, and then it just became a component. The fun part was over, and it became this kind of component, just like I would look at a media streamer or an amplifier or a preamplifier. It's just a component, and now what is its job? Whereas I still always kind of approach record players with a sort of romanticism. There's stuff to get involved with when it comes to a record player. I like the construction. I like, the details, the craftsmanship, if you will. And again, this is not a knock against the Technics SACD player that I will be reviewing on this series. It's just interesting how our minds work and what that means as we move forward with this conversation, and what that means as we truly start to dig in and evaluate what it is that we're hearing. Because what we're hearing is influenced very heavily by our emotions. So I put it to you, do we have nostalgia over the formats because of how they sound, or are we tying their sound to an experience that goes beyond sonics? Are we fond of CDs? Are we fond of records? Are we fond of anything because of how we used to have to go out of our way to acquire it? And it's that acquisition, it's that shopping experience, that communal thing, that being among friends and even strangers in that moment of discovery. Is that really what's been missing? Is that the secret sauce? Or is it truly because the format is that much superior, or is superior? I don't know. I don't know. I can say, without spoiling my future review of the Technics too much, one of the greatest things about the Technics player is the fact that it is a CD player, and one of the better or best CD players I've heard in a very long time. The only problem is I personally, as an enthusiast, as a listener, I don't want to own CDs, but I'll shop for CDs any day of the week for hours. But as soon as I get them home, I don't want them. So I'm curious, what do you think that's about? How do you feel about this conundrum, and what do you think we are really responding to as listeners and enthusiasts? Let me know in the comments below. But other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this inaugural episode of bitPERFECT. I hope you will stick around. I think this little series is going to be a lot of fun. There are a number of topics and a number of products already lined up that we will be diving into. So until next time, remember, as always, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, and until the next video, take care, everybody. Bye.